Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to the witnesses. Secretary Cohen, in your investigation, did you determine that EPA employees had considered using 404C of the Clean Water Act long before EPA had obtained any science on the impacts of the mine?
I indicated in the report that there were allegations to that effect and that there was some indication, some examples that were cited in the report of conversations had as early as 2005 on the part of Mr. North talking to others that this was something that would be ripe for a 404C application. In addition to that, there were a number of matrices set out, a pro and con matrix for the administrator to look at to say, well, if we go the NEPA way, here's what happens. If we use 404C, we have these advantages. And so there were indications that long before they made a determination that this has been something that they were considering. Also, there's a budgetary issue involved. It appears, and again, this is something that we couldn't really confirm, but it appears that money was being requested as early as 2009 in order to carry out the 404C investigation. It's in the 2010 budget. It appears to be in the 2010 budget of EPA. To get it in the budget, you would have to have started talking about it as early as 2009. So there are a lot of examples. I didn't come to any conclusion that there was that they in fact had made that decision, but there's enough there for you to want to follow up on to say how come these processes were used that early.
And we did, I might add, provide EPA's side of the story. While they didn't speak to us, they provided a written record with respect to this. They contend that the documents described by Secretary Cohen were by lower level employees. They were preliminary. They were not decision-making documents. And so I think that's the way they've articulated their side of the story thus far.
But even though it's lower level employees, wouldn't that be indicative of I guess, an attitude of a predetermination?
Well, if you look at the matrix, one of the interesting things you will note is that in that matrix it says this is unprecedented. This action under 404C would be unprecedented. Number two, if you take action here, it would allow EPA to be able to take greater control on the political spinning of an issue. So these were laid out as potential actions, pros and cons. If you go 404C, here are the benefits, here are the liabilities. It's likely, if you go 404C, that you will stimulate litigation. You're likely to run into litigation. It's likely to be fought legally. So the administrator had to look at these issues and make a decision based on the pros and cons, and obviously came out in favor of using 404C without the filing of the plan, and based it upon the hypotheticals that we mentioned in the report. 3 hypotheticals in terms of what the size might be. And again, an issue for Congress. Is this something that comports with a government's obligation to be as forthcoming and fair as possible?
And that's part of my concern with how the EPA does business, and that we've seen in this committee, is that EPA makes a determination based on science, and then will not turn over the data to back up the science that they use for the decision. But in this case, it seems that there's a predetermination without any science.
Oh, I think there's science involved, Congressman. I really do. I think that I disagree with the method used here, but I don't question EPA's calling upon experts with great scientific background. The issue for me is there's science on both sides, and that's up to the courts and others in Congress to reconcile. But the issue for me is whether or not that you would use a process whereby you preclude, in effect, a company like Pebble from saying, yes, we are going to dredge this amount of land. We are going to do this amount of change to the environment or harm to the environment. But we also have some mitigation measures which we feel will give EPA and the state of Alaska and the people in the greater 48 an opportunity to see that we've got the best possible science that's being developed on a day-by-day basis. That's the part that is missing here. I don't question the science used by EPA to say these things would happen. I just question whether or not they have precluded an equally compelling case to be developed by the Pebble people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My time has expired. I yield.
Yes, sir.
That-
Thank